You know, when one thinks of cowboy culture, what comes to mind is these three guys: Wild Bill Hickok, Texas Jack, and Buffalo Bill. I'm from Texas, and when I lived in Florida, they only called me the guy from Texas. Hell, that could be anybody. Here's Jesse James and Annie Oakley. Is that a 30-30? My grandfather had a 30-30. Looked just like that. However, one aspect of cowboy culture that is often overlooked is the role of black cowboys. I'll talk about it coming up. This is KRT, Critical Race Theory. It's not the one they teach in law schools, but the one banned in public schools. After the Civil War, there were cattle drives from Texas to Kansas, and black cowboys trailed herds of cattle south to Mexico and east to New Orleans. Enslaved cowboys were assigned the task of catching and tending wild cattle in the Gulf Coast brush country. Working with vaqueros who migrated from Mexico, these herders often drove long trains of steers led by oxen and trailed by baying dogs. Francis Richard Lubbock, the Civil War governor of Texas, relied on his 5 bondsmen to tend the 2,000 cattle on his ranch near Houston. Lubbock allowed one slave named Willis to acquire cattle and horses to purchase his freedom from himself and his family. What you talking about, Willis? James Taylor White, the first Texas cattle baron, used African-American drovers for the thousands of cattle he owned in Liberty County, Texas. As early as 1854, Amanda Wildey depended on African-American slave cowboys to tend to her herd of cattle. Notable post-war Civil War black cowboys included Pete Staples. He's a former Texas slave who joined the first cattle drives to Kansas. And Bose Icard. He worked the Goodnight Loving Trail from Texas to Denver. Jim Perry was one of the black cowboys on the $3 million acre Exit Ranch in the Texas Panhandle, while Daniel 80 John Wallace, who invented the cattle brand that became his middle name, became Texas' most successful black rancher. As the range cattle industry expanded out of Texas after the Civil War, black cowboys moved across the West along with it, working in every state and territory in the region, with the largest numbers in Arizona, California, Nevada, and New Mexico territory. In Arizona territory, African-American John Swain and John Bactivia worked for former Texas Ranger John Slaughter on his ranch near Tombstone. Thornton Biggs worked in northern Colorado. Prent Olive worked in Nebraska. Nat Love in the Dakota Territory. And ex-Texan Henry Harris became foreman on the Elko County ranch of Nevada Governor John Sparks. I wonder why they didn't call him Texas Henry. Even future President Theodore Roosevelt employed one black cowboy on his Dakota Territory ranch. One and done. 4 African-American cowboys in New Mexico Territory were involved in the Lincoln County Range War of 1878 that produced William Bonney, also known as Billy the Kid. 3 black cowboys, George Washington, George Robinson, and Zebrian Bates, rode with Bonney and his regulators, while African-American John Clark worked for businessman rancher Lawrence Murphy. Why is it that all the movies about Billy the Kid had no mention of those 3 black cowboys? Over the decades, African Americans, although still present, became smaller and smaller percentages of herders and drovers as whites moved into the industry. By 1890, The 473 African American cowboys in Texas comprised only 3% of the total number in the state. By that date, overall, black cowboys were about 2% of the total in the West, as these workers sought better paying employment in other industries. Yeah, probably went to Detroit to work on the auto assembly line. This is C.R. Patterson. He was owner of the first black-owned car company. It started in 1873 and went on to do battle with the might of Ford's assembly line. Let me know if you ever heard of him in the comments. This is something you definitely won't see in a Florida textbook. This has been Critical Race Theory. Thanks for checking in. Please like and subscribe and share this video with your friends and family. I'll see you next time.